So, recently, I casted a Zerg versus Protoss in StarCraft 2 between Zest and Sue. And I couldn't help but notice that Mr. Zest, once again, decided to go for some double Void Ray shenanigans. A build order that we haven't really seen in a little while, ever since the new multiplayer balance patch went live. Most of the Protoss players in PvZ have been playing a pretty active style, but Zest, out of all people, this kind of surprised me, because Zest is usually a very active kind of guy. He was the one going very passive, very focused around double Stargate. So today we've got another series featuring the man, the myth, the legend, one of the very best Protoss players in the world. In the top right hand corner of Glittering Ashes, that's map number 1 in this best of 5. We have none other than Zest. However, today his opponent is someone who I think many would consider a little bit stronger than Sue. With the red Zerg drones, we are looking at a Rogue's main hatchery. Rogue, one of the very best Zerg players ever. One of the contenders for greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time, although I think Sarah overall has definitely secured that title. Either way, Rogue ridiculously good at just playing the game, right? He doesn't really have any particular noticeable weakness. I was thinking, right, maybe one of the reasons why Zest was doing that style against Sue in particular is because Sue is very well known for being super strong early game, super strong mid game, but not as strong in the late game. Rogue doesn't really have that issue. He's perfectly capable of playing mid game, late game, anything. So, yeah. Curious to see how this series will go. Obviously, these guys are teammates. You may have already noticed they're both in clan DPG. That's Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It still bothers me a little bit that we say the P when, you know, Phoenix is spelled PH and it's pronounced as an... Anyways, DFG... No, DFG doesn't really work. DFG doesn't really work either. Anyways, I'm curious to see where this is gonna go. Now, I'm not really expecting any craziness in the early game, especially on a map like Glittering Ashes. It makes sense to go for a very standard opener. Slowly, it seems that all the top-level Protoss players have once again in PvZ started going Stargate. No Warp Gate research, so I'm expecting a Stargate. There it is. Especially on the larger maps, like Glittering Ashes, where you have a lot of terrain to cover. Obviously, the flying units don't really care, right? They just kind of go over, you know, all of the terrain, and they can make their way across pretty easily. What I'm mostly interested in right now, because this doesn't really surprise me, is whether or not Zest will go for a second Stargate and then start pumping out the Void Rays. I really hope he doesn't, because I'm really not a fan of that build. But we'll see. We'll see. I really hope, like, there's a little bit of a concern, right, in my head, where I'm a little worried that at some point the meta will once again circle back and everyone's just going to be playing a very passive game. Alright, it's going to be a Phoenix. Alright. We can do a Phoenix. I was wondering if it was going to be a Void Ray or a Phoenix because he rallied right on top of the Overlord. Anyways, Adept made its way across. Are we going to go multiple Phoenixes? Or are we going to go for an Oracle as a follow-up? Yeah, so Stargate openers. Okay, so he's going to go for an Oracle as a follow-up. Stargate openers make so much sense. Like, when you go for this sort of start, as the one that Zest is doing right now, you can just simply transition to watch whatever you like. You can deny scouting pretty comfortably. You can grab yourself a third base pretty easily without too much contest, and it just makes a lot of sense, right? Like, there's not really any particular weakness or any particular reason why you wouldn't want to go for a Stargate. The Stargate is very strong overall. Okay, there is going to be a second Stargate as a follow-up. But I imagine if this is the timing, I think it should be another Phoenix. No? Maybe another Oracle first? It doesn't really make sense to go Phoenix into Oracle and then into Void Rays. Although I haven't... Yeah, okay, it's going to be a Phoenix. I haven't really seen that all too often. It's definitely doable. No one just really does it, you know? One Phoenix can be quite good at killing a couple of Overlords. Where you're going to go 2 Phoenixes, though, you may as well just go 20. Okay, maybe not 20. 12. 12 is probably a more reasonable number. Anyways, Zerglings already scouting out the most likely third base location right now from Zest. 4 drones were killed. Nice little bit of micro right there by the Protoss player, but obviously at this point, Rogue can just hold down the drone button. Needs to have a little bit of defensive, like a little bit of a defensive 2-out, like for example these Zerglings to make sure he doesn't... okay, but to make sure that he doesn't lose anything against random adepts that go across the map. So that's why he's making sure he's got at least some defenses at home. Okay, he did force the cancel right there on the third Nexus. 100 minerals lost, but definitely not the end whatsoever for Zest. The nice move though with that Zergling group is that you also force those adepts to stay back. So he shouldn't be... Well, he's actually making a lot of links. Interestingly enough, maybe Rogue has seen something here that he doesn't like. He's gonna go up to about 20 Zerglings here, which feels a little bit excessive. Rogue always strikes me as a very feeling-based Zerg, where he just kind of plots things down as he pleases. Very similar to Dark in a lot of ways. It's very difficult to study any of Dark's replays because he kind of just, you know, wings it most of the time. Like, for example, 5 minutes and what, 23 seconds on a lair start is not really the conventional time. Normally, we see it about 5 minutes, sometimes 4:30 or so. If you compare it to, like, okay, he actually decides to cancel the Roach Warren as soon as he sees the Mass Phoenix. Interesting. Anyways, normally if you compare, like, for example, this playstyle to, say, for example, a Serral. Serral is very methodical. I'm sure he still has very good instincts as well on, you know, how to be playing these matchups. Ooh, nice micro there by Zest. Dude, very good game so far by Zest. I love what he's doing. Everything that he's doing makes a lot of sense, and now he's going into a Robo. Okay. Yeah, so maybe this style he was playing, I think it was on this map as well, against Sue, was specifically because he went up against Sue. Good amount of drones were killed, though, so far. That's exactly what you're hoping for. So he canceled the Roach Warren. The reason why that's interesting is because normally you go like Corruptor, Roach, Ravager. If he's gonna are we gonna Hydras? Are we gonna go Hydras? He's gonna need some sort of anti-air. So far, he's not really thinking about anti-air whatsoever, though. He's just doing Zerglings and Banelings, which I guess makes some sense as well. Phoenixes obviously are still spellcasters. Lifting up Lings and Banes might not necessarily be very useful, so we have a full-on Ling Bane attack. So wait, we're going for like a mid-game Baneling bust against Mass Phoenix. Force Field, beautiful. Very nicely done. Okay, Phoenixes are back home right now. What are you gonna do? Lift up the Baneling? I guess that's the plan. Beautiful micro here, man. Keeping that alive. Cybernetics core almost falls. Now, that was a bit of a bait right there from Rogue. The +1 melee certainly helps out in these battles. Oracle, though, zipping and zapping away wherever it can. These defenses are super hard, by the way. Super easy for Protoss to lose an entire mineral line worth. And maybe we are getting there right now? Yeah, okay. It looks like eventually Rogue is gonna get at least some value right here for his Zerglings, but that was a gigantic commitment just now from Rogue, and only 10 probes ended up going down. It's super easy. I know there's a lot of Protoss players watching this right now that know the pain of a bunch of Zerglings running over here, and then half of them split off and go into the main base. You're putting out 17 fires. Then finally you clean it all up, you blink twice, and you realize, hey, wait, I have like 20 workers. Right? Not really the situation that you want to be in. So instead right now, Zest is going to try and go for a counterattack. That being said, there's a lot of queens out. Ling Bane is still very strong. He did, by the way, go Hydras, interestingly enough. But yeah, those force fields and that micro over there, especially in the wall, was beautiful. Okay. Would have been nice to have a Roach Warren. I'm just saying. I don't want to criticize a player who's way better than me. Ooh, that was nice, too. Ooh, that's all very nice. It's because some of the units were ferried into the Natural Expo, but honestly. Clean defense right here so far by Rogue. He's got to be careful. Okay, another Archon falls. No pickup this time around by Zest. 8 drones end up going down. If he loses the Prism, that would be bad. Ooh, okay. Not the perfect micro that we would have liked to see right there from Protoss. So I think in the end, we're just going to stabilize and play the game out as if everything's normal. Alright, both players taking a bunch of damage. 25 drones, though, in total is actually quite a lot. I think I like this position for Zest a little bit better. The one thing, though, that Mr. Rogue is going for him is very solid upgrades. +2 melee actually makes a huge difference. +2 melee is the point at which you can start one-shotting probes. So, one Baneling into a mineral line is big bada boom, everything dies. Okay, maybe not one, if you want to kill everything. Unless they clump all of the units up together. Anyways, that's what these Banelings are trying to get done. It's not gonna happen. But that's why they're just wandering around. Seemingly randomly moving around the map. Alright, 4th Nexus is coming up. Yeah, so these Phoenixes are awesome because not only do they obviously deal damage in the earlier stages of the game, you can also keep tabs on exactly what the Zerg player is going for. He knows that there's no fourth base right over here. And he now also sees the hatchery going up on the left side of the map. So he knows the timing at which, yeah, his opponent is working with right now. Or with which his opponent is working. So fourth Nexus here is going to be a little bit ahead of the Zerg's fourth base. That's a situation you always want to be in. Don't misposition your Zealot, please. A little bit dangerous. Ugh. Can you scoot it forward a little bit? I would not mind seeing that. I could almost see Zerglings right over there. You know, this guy's too cool to look at the Zerglings head on, apparently. He laughs in the face of danger, but I wouldn't mind it. Anyways, we've got ourselves a little bit of Hydraling Bane right here from Rogue. Not a very popular unit composition in the current meta for good reason. Because, like, half of the Protoss units are pretty good against this sort of army. From Colossi to just, like, Zealots, right? Zealots do quite well against Hydras, too. So I like the addition right here of the Lurker Den. But normally, we don't see Hydra Lurker against Protoss. Oh, did he just lose the Prism? He did. Okay. Normally, we don't see Lurkers against Protoss. Interesting. Is this to deal with... Are we gonna go Vipers, or is this to deal with Zealot run-bys? Huh. Rogue missed his calling as a Protoss player. He's making a wall-off right over here. That is a very strange little wall-off. But you know what? Yeah, he's gonna go Lurkers right now. If you put a bunch of Lurkers behind the wall, they can shoot to the other side. Somehow, some way, magically. I guess the spines travel on the ground. It doesn't actually deal damage. So I guess this is to make sure that nothing actually comes in from that angle. You know what? It's actually kind of cool. If he decides to burrow Lurkers over there, especially if you go Vipers here as a follow-up, yeah, it's actually kind of cool. Anyways, the reason why Hydra Lurker, though, isn't very popular is mostly because of mass Skytals. Skytals with a bunch of Disruptors and maybe like a couple of High Templar in the mix. It doesn't really care too much about Hydras, nor does it care about Lurkers. Would have liked to see the +1... air weapons start up a little bit sooner here, but Zest has been busy trying to not die, which probably took priority. Anyways. Yeah, looks like Rogue is trying to sit back here and go for a very passive approach. I think as soon as the Hive is done, he'll probably go for a bunch of Vipers. And just try and sit back. Carriers, though, are coming up. How much time is Zest gonna give his opponent? There's the Mama ship even building. Not a unit we commonly see, but again, against Hydra Lurker, I like it a lot. So, normally the main approach, right, for Zerg in these scenarios, ooh, nicely done, is Corruptors. But if you're gonna start up a Spire right now, and you want to go upgrades at this point in the game, you're super late. You're gonna get absolutely overwhelmed by just the sheer amount of Protoss stuff. So, what exactly does Rogue do? Because now he sees the transition. He already decided to pop down a Nidus network, okay. I'm fairly certain he's going to stick around on Hydras and Lurkers for the time being and maybe add Vipers for support. That's really the only thing that makes sense here in my mind. Maybe start up like the I'm going to build a 100 Spore Crawler army sort of style, which I'm also not a fan of, but he's got to do something. I guess what I've learned over the last couple of years is that I'm not a fan of passive playstyles. Yeah. I just don't really like it all too much. So there's like no anti-air in his army though. There's 12 Hydras and 7 Queens, which is nice and all. There's not that many Protoss Flyers yet, but soon we're gonna be up to... Soon we're gonna go up to 6 Carriers and a Mama ship with +1. If he can go straight into +2, that would be fantastic. +2 is usually when those units get really scary. Anyways, Rogue's plan, okay, is to try and kill this before it lays eggs. I'm pretty sure though that the eggs have been laid. Oh god, those Banelings just killed all of the High Templar, though. Am I mistaken? Are there enough Hydras to clean all of this up? I mean, losing those High Templar was really rough. Definitely should not have happened. Alright, Rogue coming in with a pretty killer timing attack over here. Not that much detection available here for the Zerg, only a couple of those units. At the same time, Zealots going in. Even though their spines coming out of the ground, they don't care. They're gonna start working on the mineral line instead. If Zerg can clean up this army, he would be in a really good spot, but I think that might just be a little bit too much right here from Zest. Cool attempt, though, from Rogue. Not an attack we normally see. GG is cold. Sees the mama ship, he sees the additional carriers. He knows that there's no way he's gonna win here, but that was a nice attempt. Very pretty game just now, though, by Zest. Not really making any critical errors. Other than losing the High Templar there at the end, that was really quite sloppy. If you would have had like another 4 storms in that final cleanup right there, you can imagine how that would have gone, right? Anyways. Game number 2 is going to take place on Hardwire. I think I'm going to speed up the game a little bit, just because I can only discuss the early game of Protoss versus Zerg so many times. I'm expecting a hatch gas pool. Hatchery on the low ground will be blocked. Rogue is going to be forced to go for the 3rd base. We'll probably go for a gateway. When the gateway is done, at 20 supply, we'll build both the Cyber Core as well as the Nexus. Well, I guess we're going to go Nexus first and then Cyber Core in this particular circumstance. Rogue, in the meantime, is going to be forced to take his 3rd base, like I said, and then go hatch gas pool. This will allow him to get Zergling speed out at a reasonable time, and then he'll probably take this as his 3rd base, just so he can still eventually connect his bases with creep. This is one of those annoying little moves that is especially bad if you're a ladder hero, because taking your 3rd base as your first expo may be a little annoying as Zerg, but I don't think it's really going to affect someone of Rogue's caliber. He's practiced this probably more than he's practiced his regular natural, just because this has become the standard over the last couple of years. Alright, so Cyber Core is done. This time around, I'm going to bring it back down to regular game speed. Oh, okay. That's kind of cheeky. I noticed this is what Zest did against against Su as well. I thought it was a misplay, but I don't think it was. Okay, so here's what happened. So first off, going into a Stargate is 150 gas and 150 minerals. Twilight Council and Robo are 2 alternatives that he could also go for as soon as the Cyber Core finishes up, and those are 100 gas each. The Warp Gate research is 50 gas. So normally what you do, if you want to go for a Stargate opener, and you also want to make a gateway unit for obvious reasons, you go for the Warp Gate research a little bit later, and then you go for the Stargate a bit quicker, right? As soon as you can afford it. And then after you start up the Stargate, you go back into the Warp Gate research. Zerg players look for this. Like, Zerg players, when they come in with their Overlord Scout, they'll see when the Cybernetics Core finishes, whether or not it starts spinning and upgrading right from the get-go. So what happened just now is that Rogue got to the natural. He scouted that the Cybernetics Core was spinning because Zest started up the upgrade there for about 5 seconds. Then he sent a probe, canceled the Warp Gate research, added on the Stargate, and then restarted up the Warp Gate research. So there's a very good chance that what happened is that Rogue looked at this. He's like, hey, Warp Gate started researching right from the get-go. It's probably not going to be a Stargate opener, therefore, because, well, if it is going to be one, it's going to be the late one. And then he it's a very small move. Does that make any sense? It makes sense in my head anyways. This will be on the test, so I hope you were paying attention. It's a very small detail. This is if you're studying for your StarCraft PhD. No, but seriously, it's a cute little move. I've seen Zest now do this repeatedly, so I don't think it's a mistake. He just starts up the Warp Gate for even just 5 seconds or 3 seconds if he sees that the Overlord comes in, just to probably trick his opponent. I don't think it's a misplay. The first time I saw it, I thought it was a misplay, but I'm pretty sure he's doing it on purpose. Anyways, Oracle's coming in. Cute move, though. Yeah, this time around, those Oracles are not getting anything done. Okay. We can try and go for a Stasis Ward. Beautiful. Nice defense right here from Rogue. Okay. Okay, so we did build 6 Adepts right now at home. Rogue once again winging it, going for a randomly timed Roach Warren. He only has 10 Zerglings this time around, rather than like the 19 that he had in the previous game. See what I mean when I mention it's kind of random? Like, Protoss is super rigid with the way that he approaches this. And Rogue is like, could do with a Roach Warren right now. Anyways, yeah, maybe if you do play a little bit more rigidly, though. Ooh, nice micro there. Oh, God, Zest, that was so hot. Anyways, nice micro there from Zest, but I think there is going to still be enough. Yeah, forcing out a lot of links, though, as well. It's not the end of the world. So, in the end, sure, he lost 4 Adepts right there, but he also did kill a bunch of Zerglings. Plus a couple of drones. Sadly, couldn't do the classical 1-2 punch right here. Oh, okay. Rogue actually decided to go double Spore. Interesting. Maybe he's once again putting his opponent on some Stargate shenanigans. Not actually the case. No double Stargate Phoenix. Instead, it's going to be... No double Stargate Phoenix. There you go. Instead, it's going to be Blink Stalker together with the +1 ground weapons. Dude, I love everything about this, Zest. I don't know if it's good, but I like it. So, it seems like we're going for like a 3-base push with like 9 gateways. I would have rather liked to see 10, just because even numbers. Oh, I love this too. Oh, look at that. Rogue sees an immortal. It's an hallucinated immortal, however. Ooh, this looks like an immortal sentry push. Dude, Zest is playing the sickest mind games in this match. If Zerk sees that robo vicinity, he assumes it's going to be a second robo. Okay, now he's coming back home. Oh, okay. So, Rogue at this point is probably scratching his head. Not entirely sure what he's going up against. Decides to go missile upgrades on Roach speed as well as Bane speed. So he's just going to go Ravager Ling Bane. I actually think Rogue is reading this quite well, to be honest. Like, despite the fact that Zest would have successfully tricked 99.9% of the Zerk players out there, Rogue is one of the Elite Four, right? Like, he's one of the very few Zerks in the world that, you know, can read these sort of things relatively comfortably. So I think he's probably picked up on the amount of Stalkers maybe a little bit sooner. He saw the timing of the sentries being warped in and he realized maybe one of them was at lower energy than it was supposed to be at. Like, there's little tells that could have happened that may have very well allowed Rogue to still figure out exactly what is going on in this game. Like, normally sentries get warped in at the same time, and if you see that one of the sentries has less energy than the others, maybe you can pick up on the fact that the Immortal wasn't dealing as much damage as it should, or maybe the timing of that was just kind of funky. Anyways, Zest is desperately trying to tell a story right here, but looks like Rogue doesn't like it. What Rogue does like is Banelinks. Oh, God. They just walked in. Yeah. Strange angle. Uncommon angle. Zest does take a little bit of damage over there. Rogue has decided to go for a queen push. This time around, though, the queens are inside of the Overlord. I wonder what it's like inside of there. Do you think, like, the membrane over here of, like, the eyes of... I know that's not the eyes, but, like, the cheeks right there of the... Do you think those are see-through? Do you think they can see out of the plane? That's what I'm trying to say. Do you think those are the windows? A couple of Banelings over here caught on the wrong side of the rocks. A lot of resources actually do get cleaned up because of that. Nice popping right there of those stasis wards as well. That being said, beautiful force fields. Absolutely perfect force fields right there by Zest. Dude, when Zest is on point, he's so good. Like, sometimes he looks so shaky, but other times it just looks beautiful. Okay. Those queens are helping out quite a bit, though. Yeah, Overlord's not pooping that much creep over here, so the queens actually can't use their transfusion, which I think is the main reason why they were here in the first place. Okay, when the queens step back onto their creep with their pinky toes, they can start transfusing once more, but I think that Zest has got enough to defend, doesn't he? Like, these are pretty well upgraded Stalkers. Yeah, he does have enough. Dude, sick. Nice. Keeps the fourth base alive as well. I don't even know actually if Zerk... No, he did spot it. Wasn't sure if he had seen it in the first place. Okay. Reinforcing Zerklings going around the left. They may very well just kill whatever they can over here. Okay, forcing the warp in. Forcing this Protoss army to go back home. The best defense turns out to be offense once again. Zerklings! No! The door's wide open. Ugh. You hate to see it. Absolutely hate to see it. The +2 will be targeted down, but looks like it's gonna stay alive for now. You know what? In the end, it doesn't even really matter that much. At the same time, there were also some Zerklings on the left side on the fourth base, but clean up right here by Zest. Yeah. That could have been an absolute disaster. Luckily for him, he made that one photon cannon in the natural. Together with the shieldy battery right over there, it's gonna, yeah, make things a bit easier. Okay, anyways. Rogue's not done yet. Apparently he's happy with the worker count that he's got, and now he's holding down the unit button. What unit he's going for doesn't really matter. But it's gonna be based around, well, a bunch of roaches and ravagers over here. His army's still looking huge, man. You gotta be careful. Don't run all your zealots into a bunch of banelings. Here come the banelings rolling through. Okay. The roaches and ravagers, though, in the meantime, are having a grand old time, dealing so much damage here. Still, now with zealots closing the distance, their DPS is quite insane. Zerglings on top of the stalkers. Dude, these battles are pretty wild. Protoss needs to stabilize here. If he loses this base, I think he loses the game. Yeah, I think they're still gonna... He's gonna evacuate 8 probes out of there, which is kind of nice. But I still think there's a little bit too much right here for the Zerg. And eventually that 4th base does get picked off. Okay, Archons once again coming in. Not happening this time around. Okay. Rokas decided to add on a 5th base, but apparently 66 workers is all he wants. That is enough for 3 base saturation, and apparently with that enough for Rogue. Normally he's the type of guy who will sit at like 80 drones, but he's just trying to see if he can win the game right here, right now, and I think he may very well be correct. So much damage is being done here by the South Korean Zerg. Despite the fact that I liked a lot of the things that Zest was doing here, turns out Rogue may just be a little bit too good here in game number 2. Alrighty, next up, we're on Berlingrad. I've decided to skip the first 2 minutes of the game, just because everything was normal. So rather than discussing the same old again, figured we could probably do without. Okay, so he starts up Warp Gate. Is he gonna cancel it? Yeah, you see that? So I don't know if Rogue actually double-checked. He had the Overlord selected, so I think he does double-check. Yeah, he's probably onto what Zest's little trick is. So he goes Stargate in the main base, and then he once again starts up the Warp Gate research. Okay. I'm pretty sure Rogue probably realized that that is a trick that Zest likes to use. So he's making sure that he double-checks the Warp Gate research. Anyhow, rather than fast-forwarding the first 2 minutes of the game, what about skipping it? Let me know down below in the comment section of this video. Do you have a preference? Or do you think I should just sit there and talk about the first 2 minutes of the game? I mean, the thing is, right, when you're solo casting, there's not that many things you can really discuss as far as strategy goes in the first few minutes. I can only explain, you know, the build orders from both of them so many times, right? Anyways, curious to see what Mr. Zest decides to go for. Berlingrad does have a very quick rush distance from natural to natural. So if he wants to go for a ground-based push, I think right here may very well be the best option. Other than maybe like Curious Minds or something. Rogue going for everything normal here. 3rd hatchery coming up in the natural expo because once again he was blocked. Does hit a bit of a supply block. Not ideal. Decides to go for a couple spores though. May very well actually be an intentional one. Yeah, he lost the Overlord right there at the front. Twilight Council as a follow-up here from Zest. Now actually might be a pretty good time to go for like Glaive the Depths, which I think makes the most sense here. What's it gonna be? Alright. It is gonna be the Glaive's Research. That's the attack speed improvement for Adepts. So since you can get across the map pretty easily on this map, you don't necessarily need a warp prism. So Zest could definitely warp in reinforcements from right this location. Makes sense, okay. Starts wandering the map. Really does not want to lose these units. He really does not want to lose these units. So he's just being annoying. He's definitely not going to commit at this point. But this is just to try and slow down the Zerg in any way you can. Yeah, he doesn't want to lose them until the Adepts have their attack speed improvement. So only 4 gateways, by the way. It's not going to be a huge commitment either. But it's just here to create some chaos. Once again, double spore in the main base. Interesting. So he's built 4 spore crawlers, even though the oracles haven't really been hunting. Zest is like, yeah, I guess I don't really need to. Alright, now Glaives is almost done. 2nd Stargate comes up as a follow-up together with a 4th. Okay, that's not a combo we normally see, but I kind of love it. Anyways, the little mineral patch over there was mined out. Wall off over here at the front, though, is going to prevent these units from getting in. Honestly, yeah, the damage output here of the Zerg might just not be high enough. He's got a lot of Lings Airs to follow up, but I think he may have actually just underestimated the firepower right here of those Adepts a little bit. Because they just cleared out a bunch of Queens. +1 Flyer, by the way, coming up as well for Protoss, together with that second Stargate. Okay, he did once again re-wall off, but even though he's going to be able to clean this up eventually, it's quite a bit of damage being done. So losing 3 Queens, 20... Yeah, this is a great level start right here from Zest. Also, ooh, he's now going double Stargate Void Ray. Interesting. This is the point at which he decides to go Void Rays. Huh. I kind of expected him to once again go into like a Phoenix play or something like that, or straight indeed into a Fleet Beacon. So maybe he's gonna go a couple of Void Rays just for like base defense and then transition straight towards carriers? Yeah, that may very well be the case. Anyways, Overseer goes in right now. Super important scout. I think the Forge, by the way, went up. I thought maybe for ground upgrades, but I think it's primarily just so you can build photon cannons if you need to. 4th Nexus coming up too, okay. If Rogue does not address this soon, he's gonna be in a lot of trouble. Judging by the fact that he's going for a Spire right now, I don't think he's gonna address anything anytime soon. Pretty sure he's just gonna try and macro his way out of this, but considering he's already a little behind, I don't really like this all too much for him. Then again, it doesn't look like Zest is really planning on being aggressive here anytime soon either. He's probably just planning on sitting here, slowly macro up, and then eventually overwhelm the opponent. There's +2 already coming, by the way. +2 before the first carrier is awesome. Or I guess +2 started. I mean, ideally you'd have it done, but... Alright, here go the Void Rays. Just being annoying. Killing a Creep Tumor, forcing the Zerg indeed to start zoning away, so that's why the Queens are over there. He knew he wasn't going to be able to get much damage with them done, but just forcing the Zerg to chill and sit back is already pretty good. Rogue now is probably going to start Corruptor production. But it's going to put him in a very passive position. Yeah, I don't really like this spot too much when you play Zerg. Because you know on the other side of the map in the meantime, the big capital ships are coming up and you're still trying to desperately build some drones. It feels a little awkward. Anyhow, action is on Zest for sure. It's armor upgrades here as a prioritization, so Rogue realizes exactly what he's going up against. It makes sense against all the interceptor ships in particular. To try and reduce the amount of damage that they can deal. Alright, what are we gonna do, guys? Are we just gonna sit here? Tremendously good creep spread, by the way, from Rogue. He was even spreading it during the Adept harassment from earlier. You don't need that many tumors in the middle of this map to go straight across, but to spread it out everywhere, I mean, a good portion of the mini-map now has already been covered. Yeah, he's just making as many Corruptors as possible. So he's gonna go up to about 20 Corruptors here pretty soon. Protoss will probably need to add on some sort of Archons or something along those lines as well. Wouldn't mind seeing some High Templar or anything along those lines either. Okay, I did see okay, yeah, no, I did see a couple High Templar, but they merged together to become one. That's beautiful. Do you think they maintain each other's memories? I mean, they don't have long memories because they, you know, just were warped in, but do you think they continue living? Anyways, here come the Corruptors trying to get some work done. But since the Archons are underneath and the Void Rays are up in the air, not much of a reason for them to do anything. Okay, here comes the Zerg though. Dude, this is not really that big of an army. He's maxed out, but I don't think the entire Zerg force is actually here. Let's trying to deal damage. Where's the rest of the army? I feel like there's probably supposed to be more units out there. No, I guess that's it. Corruptors take up a lot of the supply. Okay. It's the same moment, though. I love this little run-by over here with those adepts getting so much work in. Okay, ground army here of the Zerg gets absolutely smashed. Zerg busy trying to micro multiple battles at once, whereas Protoss doesn't have to micro any— No, wait, Loko, be nice. Protoss aggressively attack moving with their entire army control group. Sorry, unbiased commentator. Anyways, this game is super over, isn't it? As long as the Archons zone away the Corruptors, unless the Roaches can kill the Archons, but as long as the Archons zone away the Corruptors, I think this is going to be super hard for the Zerg player to clean up. Yeah, now they managed to get underneath. GG is cold. Zest wins game number 3. We've seen a lot of Zerg players recently trying to go for those Queen Ravager Corruptor-based pushes, and I don't think I've seen it work a single time. Even though in theory it's very strong, realistically it doesn't seem like you can actually pull it off. I'm not sure. I'm fairly certain if like Serral would be in that scenario, being the best late game ZVP player in the world right now, I'm fairly certain Serral would just be building up that really boring 100 Spore Crawler army, right? Where basically every intersection that Protoss wants to walk into, it has to also walk past like a Spore Crawler forest. I'm not a fan of that style whatsoever, but if you see the alternatives, it seems to be the right call, right? It seems to be the right call. Anyways, gotta speed things up a little bit. Just because. Unless Zerg wanted to go for the gold base or the Protoss wanted to go for the gold base. It's not too surprising to see that everything's normal. So, Cybercore is finishing. Yeah? Okay, he starts it up. And he cancels it. Okay, no, my theory is definitely correct. He starts it up just to try and trick the Zerg. There's no way Rogue is falling it for it the 17th time in a row as well, though. But I guess it's just standard right now. There's no good reason not to. It's just that extra, action that doesn't really achieve anything other than a mind game, which, you know, can work out in your favor quite a bit. So, Stargate, 4 out of 4 games. Looks like we're back to the same old, but with a dozen or so different strategies. Rather than the standard double Stargate Void Ray, we have still the Stargate, but the varieties are definitely there. Okay. A Void Ray's coming up. So Zerg's main goal at this point in the game is to figure out what they're going up against. So he's keeping the Overlord over here to scout how many units are coming out of those gateways. And he knows that if it's going to be a Stargate opener, he'll soon be killed by whatever comes out of that Stargate anyway. So he knows at this point exactly what he's going up against. So his main goal at this point is just pump out as many drones as possible without dying. So there's obviously the potential here for Protoss to go for like an adept counterattack, but Rogue will know very well how many resources are available here for Zest at the absolute most in a perfect circumstance. So judging right there by the timing of the third, he knows when the Protoss is going to be able to send in more damage. And yeah, for the time being, he's going to be able to just drone up. I mean, there are 2 adepts moving across. Don't need a whole lot of Zerglings against that, especially with link speed. Maybe 8 or so is a good number. Obviously, those units aren't free either. Okay. Yeah, he's waiting for reinforcements, but mostly just droning up, right? So, Oracle goes into the main base. Can it do any damage? Interesting. Feel like it could have done a little bit more than this, but fair enough. Forcing some lost mining time, I guess. Looks like a drone went down at the 3rd base too, and the adepts managed to get out. Nicely done right there by the Protoss. Glaive Adepts could once again be the name of the game. Although he's going quite a few more gateways this time around. No, I don't think it's going to be Glaive Adepts. He's going to go +1 flyer attack very quick. Okay. +1 flyer with only a single Stargate unit, though. Or 2 Stargate units, I guess. One of them doesn't benefit from it, so you don't really get anything out of it. It's an indicator that he plans on adding on a lot more stuff very soon. So, +1 flyer together with, like, 8 gateways in total. Or 9 gateways in total. And charge. So, Phoenix Zealot. Definitely a popular unit comp in PvT. Not really something that we see too much in PvZ, however. Yeah. Maybe he's just getting the upgrade. Maybe he's just thinking, okay, this is what carries me in the late game. So if I have 100 minerals, 100 gas to spare at this point, I may as well start it up if the games go there 9 times out of 10 anyways. Obviously, it is money, though, that he's not really getting anything in return from right now. And, you know, he started that up quite quickly. Shield battery here, getting target fired down. Okay. How many probes will die here? 1? 1! Are you kidding me? Okay. Pretty sick. Ooh, okay. So Rogue at this point must have realized that something is not entirely right. Maybe he saw the spinning right there inside of the Cybercore, who knows? But he's decided to now go for a queen drop. Maybe that's the reason why Zest started up the +1 flyer attacks. Maybe it was just to sell the story that he's going double Stargate once again, and that's why Rogue decided to go for a queen drop together with a Nidus network. You know what? It's 100 minerals, 100 gas, not just for a late game upgrade, but also for a current game trick for your opponent, right? Dude, that was actually kind of sick. I was talking about this like half a year ago. We haven't seen that yet. But it looks like, well, Mr. Zest has been trying it out. That was actually so cool. So he started up the upgrade in the Cybercore to trick his opponent. Rogue decided to go for an all-in against, well, a double Stargate opener. And then Zest just whips out 9 gateways with charge units.